Cartesian plane is the most fundamental concept in Cartesian coordinate geometry, and it has applications in almost every branch of science. Cartesian plane is a plane surface on which we plot points. It is divided in four parts by two straight lines intersecting each other at 90-degree angle through the middle of the surface. The horizontal line XOX dash and the vertical line YOY dash are called x-axis and y-axis respectively. The point at which both lines intersect is called origin, and it is represented by the capital letter O. Cartesian plane has four quadrants. One on the top right is called the first quadrant. The one on the top left is the second quadrant, the lower left is the third quadrant, and lower right is the fourth quadrant. There exists a 1:1 correspondence between ordered pair of numbers in coordinate geometry and points in the plane. What it really means is that for every ordered number, for every pair of ordered numbers, there is a point in the Cartesian coordinate plane. The first number of the pair is called abscissa, and the second number of the pair is called the ordinate. Let's get started with the Cartesian plane here. We can see here this is a Cartesian plane. The horizontal line XOX dash, this is called x-axis, and the vertical line here, this YOY dash, is called y-axis, and the origin is the point of intersection. This is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, this is third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. And the general form of an ordered pair is x, y. That's what is an ordered pair of points. The first part of this pair, this is abscissa, and the second part, this is called ordinate. In Cartesian coordinate plane, abscissa determines the horizontal movements. Abscissa is responsible to determine movements on the left or right. If abscissa is positive, the movement will be toward right. If abscissa is negative, the movement will be toward left. If abscissa is 0, means there is no movement at all. For ordinate, if ordinate is positive, then we move toward upper side, and if ordinate is negative, we move toward the negative y-axis, and if ordinate is equal to 0, it means there is no vertical movement. But in the end, there should be two things which should be kept in mind. Abscissa is only responsible for the horizontal movements, and ordinate is responsible for the vertical movements. All the movements of abscissa must start from origin, and we can start plotting points on the Cartesian coordinate plane. Here we have a few points which we need to plot. Plot the following points on the graph paper. 2, 3. Let's have a plan here, and this plane, let's label it as x, and this as x dash, this as y, and the lower part of y-axis is labeled as y dash, and this point where both x-axis and y-axis intersect, that is labeled as the point O and is called the origin. The first pair that we need to plot is 2, 3. So the point is 2, 3 that needs to be plotted, for which what is the abscissa? The abscissa is equal to 2, and like I said before that the abscissa is only responsible for the horizontal movements. So starting from the origin, abscissa is equal to plus 2 means that we have to do two things. Number one, we have to move toward right by how many units? By 2 units. So that's where we get 1 and 2, and then the ordinate is equal to 3. So where we left off with abscissa, now we are going to make movements as the ordinate tells us. Ordinate plus 3. If there is no sign, then obviously there is a positive sign. So ordinate plus 3 means that move upward by how many units? 3 units. So 1, 2 and 3. That's our destination. We have made the movements required by our abscissa, and we have also made the movements required by the ordinate of the point, and that's where we have ended. So this point is called our destination, and it must be given a name. The name is always a capital letter. Let's call it as point A. And what are the coordinates of this point? 2, 3, in which 2 is what? 2 is the abscissa and 3 is the ordinate. If we make a line starting from origin O directly connecting to the point A, that will be called its position vector, but that is not the topic at hand. Anyways, the second point for us is what? The second point which we need to plot is minus 3, 4. So point on the next point is minus 3 and 4. And what is the abscissa here? The abscissa for this point, abscissa is equal to minus 3. So negative sign tells us the direction of the movement, and 3 tells us how far we have to go. Negative means that now we are going to move toward left by how many units? 3 units. So minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 here, and then plus 4 means that move up by how many units? 4 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the destination, and the name of the point can be arbitrarily chosen. Let's call it as point B, but it's always capital letter with coordinates minus 3 and 4. What is the abscissa for this point? Minus 3. That determines the direction and the distance from y-axis, and 4, which is a vertical distance, is a distance from x-axis. And let's plot another point, and that's 0, minus 3. So for third point we are going to, what was the point? That was 0, minus 3. So if the point is 0, minus 3, what is the abscissa? The abscissa here is 0. What does 0 abscissa means? That there is no horizontal movement at all, period. We are not going to move toward left or right. There will be absolutely no distance traveled along horizontal x-axis or negative x-axis. So we stay where we are at the origin, and then the vertical distance called the ordinate will be equal to minus 3, and that tells us that we are going to move along the vertical x is 3 units down. The direction negative is for the downward direction. So this is -1, -2, -3. That's where we are. And here we call this point as point C and write coordinates of this point, which are 0, -3. And let's plot one more point before we end this. And this point, fourth point, is -2, -4. Or if we go by this questions here, there is a -3, -2. -3. So the point is -3, -2. So what is the abscissa? The abscissa is -3. That tells us left or right. Because the sign is negative, so we're going to make movement toward left. -3. So -1, -2, -3. And then the ordinate. The ordinate is -2, which means that -2 units toward, -2 means that 2 units toward y dash, that toward the negative y-axis. So -1 and -2, and that's where we ended up after. So first abscissa, then ordinate, and this is -3, -2 is the point. And here let's call this point as point D. It doesn't make difference if you plot abscissa first and then ordinate, or first you go in the ordinate direction and then abscissa. You will always reach at the same point, but never confuse abscissa with the ordinate. Abscissa always measures the horizontal measurements or the horizontal distances, and the ordinate measures or determines the movements along vertical direction. So let's get to the next question, and in the next question write the coordinates of the point given in the graph below. Here we have a point H. If we start with point A, let's start with point A. If point A is to the left of y-axis, if it is to the left of y-axis, obviously its abscissa is going to have a negative value. So minus sign, and then how far to the left? 2 units to the left, so -2, and then place a comma there, and then vertical distance from x-axis, 2 units above x-axis. So if it is above, then it's positive. So this is +2 because it's 2 units above the x-axis. Now let's take a look at the point B. If point B, for abscissa, we are going to take a look. If it is to the right of y-axis, it is positive. If it is to the left of y-axis, it is negative. So it's 3 units to the right. So this would be, abscissa would be +3, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 units above x-axis. The vertical distance is +4. So this is +4. These are the coordinates of the point B, and +3 means this distance, and +4 means this distance. And similarly A, B, and now where is the point C? The C is right here. C is to the left of y-axis, therefore it is minus, how far it is? 2 units to the left, so -2, and it is below x-axis by 3 units, 1, 2, 3. So below would be minus again, -3 units, so -3, and it has already been named. Similarly, now the point D. The point D is to the right of vertical line. How many units? 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, its coordinates are +4, and comma, and then it is below x-axis 2 units, so this would be -2. Remember that every point in the first quadrant here will have x and y both positive. So in first quadrant, x is greater than 0, y is greater than 0, and sometime you can also say plus and plus. And for the second quadrant, x is less than 0, means the abscissa is negative and ordinate is positive, y is greater than 0. You can say this is negative abscissa, positive ordinate. Similarly, here for the third quadrant, x is less than 0 means negative, y is less than 0 means that y is negative as well. So you can see here the point C has both x and y, abscissa and ordinate are both negative. And in fourth quadrant, x is positive and y is negative, mean positive comma minus. So this is how we determine this is negative, negative. Sometime you might be given a point. For example, if there was a question that in which quadrant does the point lie? In which quadrant? In which quadrant does the point -3 plus 2 -3 plus 2 lie? So which is the quadrant? The quadrant, because its abscissa is negative, so it is to the left of y-axis, and ordinate is positive, so it is essentially, answer is the second quadrant. Is second quadrant. So this way you can practice more and learn more about the Cartesian plane.